throughout the history, the accumulations of CO2 reached 280 parts per million. However, in the last 150 years, this amount of CO2 increased by 60%, which is the highest level in history. Second fact is the evidence indicated that the temperature of the planet has risen over the past decades. So the global warming is truly happening. In only 30 years, the average temperature of the planet has risen by almost 1 degree Celsius. Third, there is evidence that the sea level has risen almost 2 millimeters a year during the last century. Four, this evidence of the sea level is because the thermal expansion of seawater coming from global warming. Four, the International Planet on Climate Change has proven that there is a direct correlation between the increasing concentrations of CO2 and the increase in the Earth's temperature. Five, mankind is facing more and more climate-related natural disasters. These disasters are not only affecting the population, but also businesses. Let me give you some examples. In our case, in Mexico, 2 years ago, 70% of the territory of the state of Tabasco in the Gulf of Mexico was flooded. And this year, 2010, the rainfall reached in that state a new record high, doubling the previous one. And the same applies to the unprecedented droughts in Africa, unprecedented floods in Pakistan, and unprecedented forest fires in Russia in the same year. So the point is, what is happening with us? Over the last 2 decades, the world has been aware that there is an urgent need to take action immediately. So why has mankind been unable to reach an agreement and solve the problem? And the point is that we are trapped in a false dilemma. The dilemma is either we promote the economic growth or we preserve the environment. And I say that there is not such dilemma, because it is possible to achieve sustained economic growth and at the same time to reduce emissions. The key to a sustainable path, a green path, is to minimize carbon emissions without sacrificing economic growth. A low-carbon economy is active in implementing measures to mitigate climate change. And how can we get that? I think that the point is the economic cost, reducing carbon emissions. Only for my explanations, I'm trying to classify the kind of actions we can take according with the costs or even the net benefits in economic terms. A first group of these measures are all those measures that not only contribute to reduce carbon emissions, but also they have a net present value positive for the people or for business. And the key issue is that the cost of the investment in improving the energy efficiency in a company or in a house is lower than the savings that could get that family or that company in the long term. So the net present value is positive So it's not only a great measure in order to reduce carbon emission, but also it's a very good business. Some examples of these are several energy efficiency measures. For instance, changing old refrigerators for new refrigerators or air conditioners equipment, or the lamps, the old system of lamps, like this, for new saving energy lamps. And not only in an individual cases, but also as public policy in a countries like Mexico or any other country. Then there is a second group of measures that are almost equal or to zero, or probably with a small negative net present value in economic terms, but with a very high social benefits for the people. And those are, for instance, all the measures related with the so-called RED Plus mechanism, which are the reductions of emissions for deforestation or soil degradations. And let me put some examples about what we are doing in Mexico. We have in place a program so-called ProArbol, in which we are paying to the indigenous communities in the country who are the owners of the rainforests or the woods in order to preserve the surface, the forest surface of their land. They are very poor people. They have not almost any other income. But today, the government is paying to them some kind of some amount of money a year per hectare in order to preserve rainforests or woods, or even paying even more to them in order to reforest all those land that we lost in the past. And with this measure, we are reducing deforestation in Mexico. The average of deforestation in my country last decade was 350,000 hectares a year. And this year, we are reaching a little bit more of 100 hectares a year. And our goal is to reach an equilibrium in deforestation, or deforestation equal to zero in the medium term. And the third group of measures are those that are very positive for the environment, but also present different costs in economic terms. Since wind energy, which is more efficient every day, towards solar energy, which is very important and probably will be the energy of the future, but still today is very expensive. But I'm confident that technology will bring to us lower costs year by year, producing alternative energy related with sun or related with wind. Actually, depending on the price of the fossil fuels, either oil or natural gas, wind energy is absolutely profitable according to some point of break of those prices. Finally, we can make another comments, probably some of your questions, but the idea clearly is that there is a green path in which we can solve the false dilemma. And through this green path, we can get economic growth, profit for business, and also preserving environment and fighting climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.